So Abraham became Abraham. Hashem told him to look at the stars in the sky, to count them. And Hashem told him that's how much your descendants, your grandkids and great grandkids, and your nation will be. They will be as many as the stars in the sky. He wasn't able to have kids. We all know the story. Sarah told Abraham to go to Agar. Agar then had Ishmael. And he loved him very, very much. Then at the age of 99 years old, Abraham had to do the circumcision. He was commanded to do the circumcision, the covenant, Brit ben Avetarim, the covenant between Abraham and Hashem, and he circumcised himself. He did not do that before because he waited for Hashem to command him. There is a greater reward. We learn here there's a greater reward, a greater zechut, if we do mitzvot that Hashem commanded us instead of doing it ourselves because we think Hashem would like it. Then on the third day, again, I'm going quickly here because these are things that we know, and I promised that I would do these classes and archive them for me, for everybody, whoever wants to listen. So, on the third day, Hashem bore a hole in Gehinnom. He punched a hole in hell for the heat of hell. Well, a certain amount of heat from Gehinnom would come onto the earth to make it so hot, so sizzling, piping hot, that nobody would bother Abraham, because Abraham was always looking for guests to help, to feed, to house, everything. Abraham would do everything l'shem shamayim. And on the third day, which we know is the hardest day after the Brit, Hashem made it so that it was so hot that there were no passerbys. But Abraham sent Eliezer. He's like, look, see if you find someone in this heat. It's dangerous. Bring him in the tent. We'll feed him. We'll bathe him. We'll give him water, and he'll rest, and so forth. Hashem sees this, and he decides to send Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, 3 angels in the guise of Arabs. Abraham comes out and he sees the 3 men, and he bows down to them. And he brings them inside the tent. First, he washes their feet, because at that time, people would idolize the dirt and dust. And in the tent of Abraham, chas v'shalom, you didn't want to have any idolaters. You didn't want to have any God-forsaken gods. So he washed their feet. And we know that he asked Sarah to bring the bread, the milk, then the gedezim and all that to feast. It was Pesach. Raphael was there to heal Abraham. Michael was there to tell Sarah that she was going to have a child. And we know that Yitzchak, Sarah, b'kirba lemor. And Sarah, inside of her, she laughed. She's like, what? But my husband is so old. And that's why Yitzchak was named Yitzchak. Litzchok, to laugh. So, and Gabriel, along with Michael, they went to Sodom. They had to destroy Sodom, Ba'amorah, and the 3 other nations. Abraham pleaded with God, if there's 50 tzaddikim, if there's 45 tzaddikim, if there's 40, they went down to 30. They even down to 10. And nothing. They couldn't even find 10 pious men in all 5 nations. The angels went into Lot, not forgetting Abraham's achnasat orchim, and dealing with strangers and guests. He didn't forget that, so he invited them. He risked his life and his family's life to bring in the angels. At one point, he even wanted to give his daughters. So the Sodomites don't hurt the angels. Then the angels saw that it was becoming dangerous. And then all the inhabitants around the house of Lot became blind, and they couldn't see the door, they couldn't get in. There was one problem. The wife of Lot, who had all her family there, she was worried, what's going on? Are they going to destroy Sodom? What am I going to do? So let me go to my neighbors. And she asked for salt, and at the same time she says, I have guests in the house, and that's how they knew. So the angel said, take Lot, take your family, whoever wants to come with you, you have to leave. So Lot and his wife, they go to the in-laws, and they're like, no, what are you talking about? It's a rumor, conspiracy theorist. God is not going to destroy a nation. And they stayed. As Lot, his two daughters, and his wife leave, they hear the brimstone, the hail, the fire, the destruction, the bombs, the nuclear bombs. It was devastating. Nothing was left of Sodom Amorah. All what is left is what we see in the Dead Sea. It was sulfur. But Lot's wife, she had all her family there, and she was sad. She looked back. She's not allowed to look back. The commentaries say the only reason Lot and his family were saved is because of the zechut of Abraham Avinu. There's another commentary that says that they weren't allowed to look back because it was the hand of God that was destroying these nations, Sodom and Amorah, the three other cities. As she turned around, she became a pillar of salt. And it says that pillar of salt can be seen in the mountains. And the animals devour it during the day. And nothing is left at night. And then the next day, that pillar of salt becomes alive again. It comes back to itself as salt. We're not going to get into what happened with Lot and the two daughters. We know that there's two nations, Ammon and Moab. And from them the Mashiach came. Lebarberet as-Satan. That's another story. Abraham Avinu begot Yitzhak. So it was time for Sarah and Abraham to become parents, Rosh Hashanah. And Yitzhak was born, named by Hashem. And Yitzhak did the Brit at 8 days old. Ishmael did it at 13 years old, the same time as Abraham. And that's where the problems start. Also, all the women that were barren gave birth. Everybody did the circumcision. It was a very, very big party. Dignitaries, kings, queens, princesses, all the elites of the time were at the Brit Milah of Yitzchak, and the Satan came disguised as a poor beggar, and nobody paid attention to him, and that's what he used to prosecute Abraham. And at the end, Abraham had to sacrifice his son. Then there's another story about why did Yitzchak have to be sacrificed, because Yitzchak and Ishmael were having a conversation, and Ishmael was saying, I'm more important than you. And Yitzchak is like, no, my mom is Sarah. Your mom is just a slave. But he's like, you know what? I did the Brit Milah knowingly at 13 years old. You were a baby. You were 8 days old. You didn't really have a choice. And Yitzchak, he says, not only Brit Milah, but even if I have to die, if I'm asked to be a sacrifice, then I will accept. Satan, al tiftach picha la Satan. The Satan heard that, went straight to Hashem. Look what Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, and Sarah said. that he is willing to become a sacrifice, to die. And Hashem, Yitbarach Shemo La'at, to prove that Satan wrong, to show that Satan, that Abraham Avinu was a perfect soldier, that he had the emunah of no other man in history. That's when Abraham was told that Yitzchak had to be sacrificed. Sarah did not know. Yitzchak himself did not know. And we have the beautiful pair, Oked ve'anekad ve'amizbeach, which we will talk in the next class. So we are now at the time of the Akedah. Before the Akedah, Sarah asked for Ishmael to be thrown away because he was playing with Yitzchak. He was teaching him very bad stuff. He also tried to kill him and say, no, I didn't do it on purpose. So Sarah said, you shall throw this Agar and Ishmael. And that was the hardest test that Abraham had to do, even greater than Akedat Yitzchak. It says that Abraham was very disturbed. He wasn't happy. He was sad, that to the point that Hashem came in his dream, in prophecy, and says, Kol asher tomar lecha Sarah ta'aseh. Everything that Sarah tells you, you shall do. And the next morning he prepared the donkey with water and food. And he sent away Agar and Ishmael. Ishmael was saved. Ba'asher usham. The angels were like, why are you going to save Ishmael? Ishmael are going to do a lot of bad to the Israelites. They're going to do a lot of bad to the Bnei Israel. Why are you saving them? And Hashem, he's like, I cannot judge somebody for the future nor the past. I can only judge him how he is now. And now he is a tzaddik. He is praying. So I should save him. Finally, to finish this class, Ishmael, he lived like a savage. He lived in the forest, and he married a wife. And Abraham wanted to see Ishmael, so he told Sarah, listen, I want to go see Ishmael, he's my son. So Sarah says, no problem, as long as you don't leave the camel. I don't want you to step foot off the camel. So he goes a long journey, and he sees kids running around, and he sees the wife, and that was the wife of Ishmael. And Abraham Avinu was all hidden. He looked like an old man, like a beggar. He's like, hello, is Ishmael here? He's like, no, he's hunting game. Okay, can I have a little water? He's like, no, we don't have water here. You can go. I don't have time. I'm too busy. And she was with the kids, and the commentary said that she wasn't good with the kids as well. She was screaming at them, beating them. She wasn't taking care of them. And the same way with Abraham. So Abraham told her, listen, when you see Ishmael, tell him that an old man came on a camel, and he said something specific. I don't have it in front of me. But he's like, just tell him that an old man came, and that's it. So Ishmael at night comes, and the wife says, oh, there's an old man that came on a camel and all that. And Ishmael knew that it was his father. He was like, so what did you do? I just threw him away. Ishmael, without thinking, left. He left the wife. Didn't want to know anything about her. Then he married another one several years later. I think it was 7 years later, if I'm not mistaken. Same thing. I want to go see Ishmael. Abraham goes with this promise that he won't get off the camel. He goes into that forest again. Ishmael moved, and he sees kids, and he sees a woman. And the same thing, is Ishmael here? He's like, no, he's hunting. Okay. And the woman was nice. She's like, how are you, old man? Do you want to come in? And he's like, no. If I can have just water. And she gave him water and food. She really took care of him. And towards the end, he blessed her. He blessed Ishmael. Abraham blessed her. I blessed Ishmael. And he's like, tell Ishmael when he comes that an old man on a camel came, and that you treated him very well, and that he's blessed. And that's it. So when Ishmael came back that night, the wife's like, oh, there was an old man on a camel. And Ishmael was like, oh, what did you do? He's like, no, I served him water and food. He was amazing. He was such a nice man. He blessed us, and Ishmael was happy that he married the right woman. Again, kibud avahem. Kibud avahem. You see that Ishmael didn't say, oh, you know what? It was an old man on a camel. My wife was afraid. No. You don't treat my father or anybody like that. Out, achutza. The second wife, she treated him like a god, even though he was a beggar. And Ishmael kept her. Next class will be all about the Akedah, when Abraham has to tell Yitzchak that we're going to Aram Moriah, we're going to a mountain where we're going to have to do a sacrifice, because I have to teach you the duties of sacrifice, how to do it. So he had to come up with a story to bring Yitzchak, and for Sarah not to know. That will be the next class, which will be exclusively about Akedat Yitzchak.